my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Thomas Caulfield. He's CEO of GlobalFoundries. And for those of you who might not be aware of GlobalFoundries, they're the premier specialty global fab on the planet. And what they do is they make the chips that go inside products that I'm sure you would be aware of, but I probably can't talk about.
Yeah, and having met Tom in the past, I mean, what a terrific spokesperson for innovation, for entrepreneurship. Just always been very impressed with Tom, and I'm certain that you will be too. So Tom, we're looking at hearing from you now.
Hi, I'm Tom Caulfield, CEO of GlobalFoundries. You know, GF is one of 5 major semiconductor foundries supporting this amazing $500 billion semiconductor industry, which we all know is vital not only to the world's $85 trillion economy, but to humanity. Let me take a moment to give you a little bit more perspective on GF. Essentially, we add all the rich features to electronic devices. Take handsets, for example, mobile devices. We create the chips through our customers that make them connect to the baseband, that enable the image sensor for the cameras, that make the audio work, that provide secure transactions. The touch screen works. Yes, it's very important that these devices have great brains in them, but they need the silicon to bring the features to life, and that's what GF does in this industry. Now, like most industries, our semiconductor industry has had to respond to the uncertainty and challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. For GF, our amazing worldwide team of some 15,000 employees has responded to these challenges, and I'm proud of them, and I'm proud to report our operations and business has delivered to all our customers worldwide in unprecedented fashion while maintaining the safety of each other and the communities in which our teams live. Safety has been our number one priority. You know, a year ago at this time, I may have been presenting to you on a stage. Today, this pandemic is forcing us to rethink the way we communicate and the way we do business. You know, more to the point, the COVID-19 crisis has accelerated the shift to digital transformation, as we've all discovered that remote work, once considered a fallback, once considered the alternative option only if needed, can be implemented real-time and at scale for the enterprise. It's not only to help us cope with the social distancing measures associated with this pandemic, but how to become more agile, productive, and inclusive in the post-pandemic world. Now, the very notion of the enterprise network and its relationship to the public and hybrid cloud architectures is being reimagined in real time as we sit through this pandemic and through the lens of this healthcare crisis. It is clear we need to widely distribute networks because employees are no longer always present in their enterprise, in their company's walled garden of connected security, but instead they're logging in from everywhere in the world remotely via a VPN, using multiple networks not protected by the company's security. This is the opportunity COVID-19 has presented to the semi-industry. This is the catalyst to accelerate the world's next digital transformation. So before we go forward and think about the future, let's take a step back and reflect and look where we came from. For economies to be competitive, for economies to be considered first world, a policy focused on building physical infrastructure has always been necessary. It's foundational. Infrastructure enables trade, powers businesses, delivers workers to their jobs, creates opportunities for communities. You know, in a phrase for me, it's connecting humanity. The physical infrastructure projects depicted in this chart have powered the worldwide economy throughout the 20th century. Investments, both public and private, range from telecommunications, freight railroads, energy generation and distribution, pipelines, roads for transportation, water, and parks. During the 20th century, discontinuities or events catalyzed or accelerated investment. For example, the Great Depression created the Public Work Program. The Cold War accelerated the interstate highway system. Presently, the U.S. alone invests about $500 billion a year in infrastructure. And the COVID-19 stimulus programs in debate could accelerate that infrastructure investments by adding up to $1.5 trillion over the next 5 years. And for good reason. We need GDP growth, and historically, GDP has grown 1 point for every 1% increase in infrastructure investments. In the 21st century, the world will continue to rely on infrastructure to drive the worldwide economy by connecting humanity. Only now a disproportionate amount of the infrastructure investments will move from the physical to the digital. 5G for high-speed networking communications, allowing networks to handle 100 times the number of connected devices than today. Low Earth orbiting satellites to enable high-speed access for developing countries and rural communities. This enhanced connectivity will help enable future connected capabilities, such as intelligent, autonomous transportation. And the impact to the world economy will be significant. A World Bank study showed that a 10% increase in broadband access delivers 1.3% increase in GDP. And in developing countries, the ratio is even higher. The GDP growth is in excess of 4 times higher. So COVID-19 has demonstrated how vital and paramount digital connectivity is to humankind's very existence. From education to governing to running businesses remotely to shopping, and perhaps this present time, connectivity is playing the most central role in combating the pandemic. At the same time, we have stressed the digital infrastructure we live with today and have exposed and highlighted critical weaknesses. For example, quality, speed, bandwidth, and deployment. 53% of the world's population did not have access to the internet. The societal need for a broader and more capable modern digital infrastructure, namely 5G, has been accelerated. What does this acceleration look like? Well, here's a few statistics. In one of the most major internet exchanges in Sao Paulo is dealing with a 30% increase or jump in traffic, some 99.55 terabits per second. We see a 700% increase in remote access connections to corporate servers, a 60% increase in upstream data traffic. But here's the point, it's not the statistics. This is not a blip or a spike. This is an offset to the monotonic increase of internet use. It's here to stay, and the rate of growth will now accelerate on top of that discontinuity. I say this because I see it in every day in the world, at GF, and in my personal life. We're creatures of habit. For example, even though we had this ability to connect remotely, we never really took advantage of it. It was always our backup, our fallback, not the front-up plan. We did what we always did, just more of it. We commuted to the workplace every day. We fly somewhere in the world weekly to visit teammates, customers, or suppliers. You name it. We did not change our life habits significantly or as fast as the digital world was making connectivity and productivity available for us to leverage. Well, COVID-19 has challenged our beliefs, our self-imposed myths on how we work, engage, and connect. We now believe we can be more efficient and productive as a result of the acceleration of the digital transformation, now that we got a taste of how to capitalize it. This is no different than our forebears who saw that change in life with the physical infrastructure transformation that took place in the 20th century. The so-called new normal is not because we cannot go back to the normal, it is because we see there's a better normal ahead. And herein lies the opportunity created by the COVID-19 3 megatrends. So what are these 3 megatrends from GF's point of view? Well, the first is frictionless networking, an always-on, seamless, intelligent, and secure connection that makes the right choices for you, making you more efficient, your vital connectivity, security guard, and digital personal assistant always at the ready. Another one is virtualization, which is enabled by a high-speed backbone of compute, storage, and connectivity, essentially sharing of large-scale digital infrastructure for efficiency. The future is in data. We've heard it often said, data is the new gold. But data only becomes gold when you do something with it. You take action, you make a decision. This requires real-time processing of data and analysis. Hierarchical AI provides the speed, scale, and compression to truly extract value from the Bronto bytes of data that's growing that is in our world today. So let's take a look in a little detail on these 3 trends. So let's start with frictionless networking. As I said, it's always on, it's seamless, it's intelligent, and secure connection. It makes the right choices, makes you more efficient. So you no more navigating airport Wi-Fi or third-party cellular data services. This is all managed in the background. Today, we need to manually connect as we physically move through the world, passwords, text authentication numbers, etc. How is this any different from the days when we dialed? Yes, I said it and I own it. We dialed a long distance call. The operator came on or some voice came on and said, "Hey, you need to dial a 1 to make this call. Please redial using a 1." And you said to yourself, if you know I need to dial a 1, why can't you do that for me? Why do we think our network is any different today than those telco networks? That we have to do all this work to guarantee our own connection and security. The frictionless network of the next generation of digital includes a digital security guard. And it does all this authentication and security automatically and in the background. It connects to safe networks and rejects bad ones. It provides automatically and manages the connection to offer higher security for transactions like secure pay transactions or blockchain-based authentication services. Also part of this is you have your own virtual digital assistant. It's always on and available. It understands and even anticipates what you need. For example, let's say your digital assistant hears a conversation. You're talking about vacations, taking time off, and it automatically does some search on locations. It recalls conversations you had about places you'd like to see. And it does a whole bunch of research on flights and hotels and pricing. You get to focus on the trip and the things you need to do, and all this time you'd have spent doing research has been done for you. This is just one of thousands of examples, and I think we're only limited by our imagination of what a digital assistant could do for our life. Okay, let's move on to megatrend number 2, virtualization. There are several types of virtualization, and what they all have in common is the need for high-speed backbone of data, processing, storage, and transport. This is an important aspect for the next digital transformation. Let's look at network function virtualization, or NFV, is a great example. It's essentially network processing is done in the cloud. Data is transported from a dumb access point to clouds for processing and then returned. You don't put all this capability in every radio or every access point. Virtualization of the network enables the services to be delivered and scaled at significant bandwidth, speeds, and at much lower cost than from processor-enabled access points we use today. Also, the flexible nature of virtualized networks, the speed and deployment of new services can be greatly enhanced. A new feature will come via software push versus a hardware upgrade to the user. Beyond this, DARPA and other research agencies are beginning to completely reimagine the network through concepts such as distributed and heterogeneous networks, where data optimizes its own path through the nodes based on user-defined priorities like cost, latency, speed. And again, this can only be activated through cloud-based network virtualization. The other view of virtualization is interesting. It's the human side, the personal virtualization, which is the concept of the holographic telepresence of the individual. For example, in this picture, you see a family gathering, and maybe not everybody can make the trip, but they're more present than just a two-dimensional image. They're a holographic presence. Look, Zoom or Google Meets type meetings, that has certainly saved the day during the COVID-19. By now we've done this for more than 4 months, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I think we can all agree that personal virtualization would enhance the interactive nature and engagement experience in meeting remotely. To do this personal virtualization or these holographic telepresence, data rates need to significantly improve, over 500 gigabits per second for even small holograms with latencies less than 5 to 10 milliseconds. This is a significant uplift from where we are today. So let's move on to the third megatrend. It's hierarchical AI. Hierarchical AI is having artificial intelligence everywhere, from devices to senses, from the edge into the cloud. This is effectively how we turn data into gold. We use it to do something, make decisions, take actions. Hierarchical AI improves efficiency by first parsing the data to extract important information, and then compressing it so you move more efficient transport into compute and store. We will need data compression capabilities on the order that's 100,000 to 1. Roughly the bio-inspired estimate that with the human brain or how the human brain works. In addition to data compression, hierarchical AI will need new and novel compute architectures. For example, neuromorphic or systolic systolic computing. Without new compute architectures, the current path of Moore's law scaling in single-digit nanometer transistors is approaching a dead end. It's not technically limited. It's a date with destiny for another reason. I say this because data centers alone, if we continue on this path, will consume all the world's generated electric power within the next 2 decades if we continue to blindly take this present-day approach with highly inefficient compute architecture, using smaller and less efficient transistors generation after generation. I think this is the semi-industry's analog of climate change. We know it's coming in time, not an immediate crisis, but a crisis nonetheless. Hard to change without the catalyst of an imminent crisis or threat. Therefore, the path of least resistance is to continue doing what we've been doing and kick the can down the road for thousands of tomorrows. Contrast that to the new architectures that are much more power efficient, over 1,000x more efficient, moving significantly closer to the processing efficiency of a human brain, which is 20 watts, when similar computation on today's architectures take megawatts. The third megatrend that is accelerating the next digital transformation is hierarchical AI. This next chart, courtesy of the SIA and SRC, captures the issue of compute power consumption on a global scale. The consumption of power is accelerating, which is being driven by worldwide adoption of lifestyle changes enabled by the digital infrastructure, and will result in power collision course if we don't change direction. Take the example of computing power consumption. In 2017, data centers consumed 3% of the total worldwide electric power. By 2040, computing, dominated by data centers, will consume 100% of the world's energy production at current rates and inefficiencies of compute architectures. The world's entire energy production isn't going to be used only for compute, but the point is that the path is unsustainable. As an industry, we need to change this path. So how do we do this? How do we avoid the power collision course that I just described? Well, our industry needs to adopt innovative solutions so we can flatten this curve. There are a number of innovations that can flatten the curve and significantly lower power consumption of the digital infrastructure. Novel compute architectures, neuromorphic, systolic, optical networking, solutions that support AI everywhere, data compression, low power connectivity, and security. Just don't take my word for it. Follow the money. There's an explosion of startups, over hundreds, developing new compute architectures. Companies not encumbered by their history, but inspired by the opportunity. So GF has a response to this. This next chart shows you what we're doing about it. We want to participate and, more importantly, enable these megatrends. We believe in this future and the solutions required to deliver this future. And as you can imagine, we are focusing our R&D and capital investments consistent with these megatrends. We are developing specialized application solutions to enable power-saving innovations. For example, our FinFET technology, we put low-power logic and low-power SRAMs. We're the leaders in fully depleted SOI solutions for new compute architectures, that we have the combination of good digital performance, great connectivity, and embedded memory. This brings AI to devices, sensors, and the edge of the network. We have and will continue to innovate in silicon photonics to enable high-speed backbones for data processing, storage, and transport. And our RF solutions, based on SOI technology for client-to-edge connectivity, and our SIGI solutions for edge-to-client, are world-class and will continue to make investments to continue that performance. And then lastly, we're going to put embedded memory features and enablement on all our technology platforms for security. So let me close with the following. 2 years ago, GF pivoted from Moore's law scaling because of the physical limitations of our business scale and the resulting unsustainable business model. We had to concede 25% of the foundry TAM to focus our efforts to provide differentiated solutions to 75% of that very market. We believe the rest of the industry will eventually have to do a pivot of their own, not necessarily because of the physical limitations of Moore's law or of business scale and an unsustainable business model, But for the physical limit that not even scale can overcome, the world just doesn't generate enough electric power to support the future compute workloads required for the next digital transformation. We can't stay the course. GF stands ready to do its part and is excited for what the future holds, not only for our industry, but for humanity. And lastly, let me thank Patrick and Dan for inviting me to the summit. It gave me an opportunity to get dressed up after 4 months. Thank you, everybody.